Welcome to my presentation again here, Perfecting Price Momentum. As Reed mentioned, my full name is Joe Boccella. I'm a Director of Client Success here at Chaiken Analytics. Now, I have a pretty fun title because my background is in financial education, right? So I got my feet wet over at the Vanguard Group, and then at the beginning of the year, I switched over to Chaiken Analytics. And one of the biggest things that I found was ultimately the variety of strategies that are being utilized out there in the market. You know, there's a whole lot of overlap between, a lot of financial terms out there. And so my goal, the thing that kind of motivates me is I love being able to educate people to ultimately see them achieve greater results, especially when that turns into and translates into dollars and cents. So throughout my experience as a client success director, I've been able to speak with thousands of investors, individual investors, RIAs. We have a great fortune to be able to speak with such a diverse audience. And ultimately, I like identifying what everyone's goal is, right? Now, obviously, we're all here to make more money, right? Of course, we all know that. We all want to become millionaires overnight. We want to find that solution. But really, I like to find out what those realistic expectations are. And with Chaiken Analytics, we have a fantastic tool that can be used for a whole variety of strategies. But I'm here to talk with you more about swing trading. We'll jump into that in just a few moments. But just want to share a little bit about my background and really what I'm all about here. Now today, our whole conversation is going to be about our Chaiken approach. Chaiken Analytics is centered around the life's work of Mark Chaiken, our founder and CEO. Throughout Mark's time, what he's developed with his 50 years of trading on Wall Street is a methodology that takes 20 different factors, fundamentals and technicals, and we put together an overall stock rating. Now, overall, if you're thinking that, well, okay, so this is a bullish, a neutral, and a bearish stock, we take this to the next level. All right, this is a very dynamic outlook. If you're reading this testimonial that I received from an attendee of one of my onboard sessions, you can see that really we're not just focusing on what stocks to trade and which ones are not, but rather how can I put myself in the highest probability position for success, right? So we're playing the odds here. There's a lot going out in the market. There are thousands of stocks just within our own program that you can invest in. Our goal is to help you focus on those highest probability stocks, and that all begins with a clear reading, whether a stock is bullish or bearish significantly. Obviously, there's neutral rated stocks that we just simply don't have a clear reading on, right? And it's all based on those 20 factors that we follow, and more on that in just a moment. But ultimately, we're here to help give you the greatest odds possible for success in the market. What you're seeing is a bit of a screenshot here, just a bit of an example, right, for how we take stock ratings to the next level. We're here for not only finding individual stocks, but reading the broader market. What you see here are 9 different sectors, right? You might recognize these as the spider sectors. We take these ETFs and we analyze the greatest allocation of bullish stocks and the ones with the greatest bearish allocation of stocks. And this is where we begin to focus our attention. So ultimately, by following this approach, as we're about to do in depth today, we're going to be able to position ourselves for the right opportunity. After all, there are no guarantees in the market, there are no certainties, yet we can help ourselves by positioning properly. Now, it all begins with a strategy, right? So ultimately, we have a consistent and disciplined strategy that I emphasize in all of my user group sessions. We have a variety of themes, and the testimonial you just saw, I referenced it briefly. When you join Chaiken Analytics, what we have you do is we attend an onboard session. We give you a thorough understanding, not just of how to navigate through our platform, through our software, but really how to be most effective with it. After all, I like to tell people there's a variety of ways that you can use our stock and ETF research. Only a few of them, and the ones that I share with you, are the ones that really help accomplish great results. What are a few of the results that you receive? What are some of the problems that you solve? And chat in right now. Go ahead and obviously ask questions throughout this session. Tell me if you can relate to either one of these experiences. So you find a stock that's ultimately been trending in the right direction, right? You can see it's eventually, you may think it's found its bottom, maybe it's a stock that's been out of favor, and it begins to turn around in terms of its performance, right? So you tell yourself you're going to go ahead and jump in on this stock. And then it almost seems just because you decided to take action on the stock that the stock's direction immediately reverses. All right, tell me if that sounds anything like an experience you've had. I like to summarize that experience as chasing growth, right? And what you've done in this case, you succeeded in analyzing a stock that's been performing well, but what you left out was timing, all right? Ultimately, remember, what we're here to do is we're here to perfect price momentum, all right? And the key to that is being able to time. So one of the benefits by following a disciplined strategy is that you're going to be able to identify the right point to be entering a stock. Now, a very important lesson, I'm sure some of you may have experienced, you're never profitable until you exit, right? So in the same vein that we're talking about finding an exit point, we're also going to help you identify the point where growth is likely to dry up and exit and secure your profits. All right, so this is all about discipline and consistency. So again, what we're going to cover today, we're ultimately going to go in depth regarding a strategy and how to establish this. Again, we're going to maximize your profits via identifying the right point to exit and then ultimately enter. Now, one of the great benefits here, all of our stock ratings in Chaiken Analytics, again, they're based on 20 factors as we monitor the performance of a stock. So what this means is that this is all objective, quantifiable data that we're relying on. All right, we have buy and sell signals in our program. We have different alerts that make you aware of different trends, but all of this is completely objective, which is a great opportunity to use Chaiken Analytics as an objective resource, an objective view at the performance of a stock and its potential growth or depreciation going forward. Now, we make a lot of resources available to you. Again, this all falls under my roof as our Director of Client Success. My job, again, is not only to provide you with the resources you need, but provide you with the right training that's needed in order to be successful. Right? Think about, I'm sure many of you may play golf, right? And there's a million different ways to swing a golf club, right? How many of them actually drive a ball 300 yards, right? I mean, you could have the full frame where you could take a ball, and I'm sure you have the potential to drive it 300, 350 yards, but if you're swinging it the wrong way, what do you think results will be? So rather, my goal is to help provide you with the support with the right way to swing a golf club, the right way to find a stock and time it as well. What I have illustrated here is just an article that I use. I like to think of this as our blueprint for success. This is a step-by-step guide called Finding Longs and Shorts with Chaiken, and obviously this is a part of your subscription when you join Chaiken. This is a step-by-step guide to A, qualifying a stock, and then B, identifying the right time to enter. All right, so this is all just a bit of a preview of what we're going to jump into. Now, tell me a little bit about yourselves here. All right, tell me what your primary strategy is that you utilize. Are you focused primarily on buying and holding, trading options? And I get the sense most of us here are looking for options, but tell me if you're looking for buying and holding too, or also if you're looking for simply enough just income, right? You're looking for a dividend yield. Take a moment, go ahead and chat in. I'm going to take 1 or 2 minutes to run through some of the responses that we've seen so far, and I'm seeing overwhelming response, pretty much options here. So very cool. Good. So we have a lot of stocks that we're about to pull up. Obviously, I have a few examples available here today. We'll do a little bit of Q&A toward the end of our session, although I know we're got a little bit of a time to kind of work with here and a lot of information for me to share with you. But please don't let that hold you back from sharing any of your thoughts. So, well, with that said, let's go ahead and jump right into our real-time examples. I'm going to go ahead and log into my Chaiken Analytics account. Bear with me for just one moment. All right, so I'm expecting right now that you're able to see my Chaiken Analytics platform. All right, cool, very nice. So in the vein of analyzing our strategy, where does this all begin? You know, after all, we can take approaches. You know, you could be thinking bullishly today, you could be thinking bearishly today, but what is that data point that you can use to help you begin your assessment, right? When you wake up each morning, you know, what is it that helps you determine whether the market is bullish or bearish, right? Maybe it's, you know, the fact that we're in a pre-election year and they tend to be more bullish. Maybe you think the Chinese economy is taking a bit of a hit. Maybe you think the Eurozone is improving, right? Maybe it's the weather. I don't know. I mean, you could think of a million reasons to make an argument against being bullish or bearish. However, what we want you to focus on, rather, is the condition of the market. Where does this begin? Well, I'm going to go ahead and pull up a few ETFs. Some of you may trade ETFs. Whether you do or don't, we have the benefit here by using Chaiken Analytics by analyzing the broader indexes. Let's go ahead and start. Let's keep it simple. Let me go ahead and pull up the S&P 500 here. So you can see just how easy it is for me to pull up a stock or an ETF in our program. Obviously, for any list that you select, whether it's a user list that you create, whether it's an industry group that you're tracking and you want to see which ones are most bullish or which ones are most bearish. Maybe you want to actually take a look at some of the holdings in a major index, whether it's the Dow, OEX, S&P, NASDAQ, or you have a whole variety of indexes available to you, or pardon me, ETFs, whether it's a spider sector, kind of like what we saw earlier, or maybe you really want to drill down and take a look at a subsector, right? We're about to analyze the S&P 500 using our charting information here, but keep in mind that the way that we list information, right, the way that we use these illustrations makes it very easy, makes it a very quick process for you to determine where the strength and where the weakness of the market is. Because remember, our strategy is all about positioning, right? If I have a stock in the financial sector, right? If I'm looking to trade an option, I'm really looking to buy a call or a put, on a financial stock versus one maybe in the energy sector. How do I put myself in the highest probability position? Stock performance aside, let's make sure that we're focusing on the right part of the market. And you can see, I'm sure in just a few seconds that you've been looking at the listing of sectors and subsectors, just how easy it is to determine where the strength is. Here's the financial sector, for example. You can see we're obviously very strongly bullish based on the number of bullish stocks here and the number of bearish stocks down at the bottom. Or, of course, if you're thinking bearishly, why not focus your attention on a weaker group like the materials? You can see it's down here at the bottom, and that's because it has only one bullish stock and 9 bearish. All right, so chat in real quick. Tell me if this is making sense in terms of identifying where the most bullish stocks are, where the most bearish ones are allocated. All right, this all goes right back to sector analysis. So with that said, let's go ahead and pull up the S&P 500. Let's get a sense for the broader market before we even go in depth regarding a sector. So here's again the SPY ETF. So of course an index of the S&P. And let's go ahead and introduce some of the different indicators, some of the different averages that we use, right? So we're looking at a 12-month chart, of course, down here at the bottom. We can see if you're looking for a longer-term perspective, obviously, please go ahead and pull up our 5-year as well. And simply enough, you can see individual days, individual price ranges, right, for a single day. And what you may be noticing, this thin orange line, thin red line, it's remarkably difficult to define the color of this line here, but I think it stands out very nicely. And you can see this is your long-term average. All right, this is your 200-day double exponential moving average. All right, so we're focusing on 200 days here. And simply enough, obviously, you can see how short of a trading range the S&P 500 has been in throughout the course of the year up until our whole August correction. Now, this reminds me, I remember speaking with a subscriber back around, I think it was the week before Labor Day, right? So we had the whole correction take place, and taking calls from subscribers, it was probably either feast or famine, right? It was either they're cashing in because they had puts on the market, or something or another, they just thought the market would hold up very nicely, and so ultimately they got caught out probably in calls or if they're in the equities they were holding, right? Well, I spoke with this one gentleman back here, and he said, look, I've been using Chaiken Analytics since June, and I've attended some of your courses. And he tells me, look, I've got to tell you, I've had a really great month of August. And I said, well, tell me a little bit more. And he says, look, I had $50,000 in my trading account at the start of the month of August. He says, by August 15th, I had $75,000 in my account. By the end of August, I had $110,000 in there. Now, this is meant to be an advocate for sector and market analysis. Take a look here. You can see how, obviously, the market making a triple top, and you start to see a lower high taking place. So what does that tell you? Well, that should be triggering more of a bearish outlook. You're thinking bearishly. This gentleman had puts on the index for the S&P 500 as well as for several underlying stocks. All right. What stocks? I don't remember. The conversation was back in September. But the key is that you were thinking bearishly because the broader market itself was more bearishly, right? Did we know a correction of more than 11% was going to happen? No. But were we positioning ourselves for this? Were we in the right place at the right time because we were following an objective discipline? Yes, and this is how you benefit. Now, let's say, for example, you're still, there's a lot of factors that impact the market. You know, Janet Yellen could come out tomorrow and whatever her comments, they could drive the market up or down 2 or 3%, right? You know, let's say they decide to raise interest rates or they decide not to or whatever have you. You know, that could happen. There could be new news coming right out of the Chinese economy, right? And that could drop the market 1 or 2%. How do we put all this into context? You know, I need expert guidance. Well, if you're looking for 80 years worth of Wall Street experience, you'll find it right within Market Insights, right? So this is where you'll receive a weekly newsletter right from our founder and CEO, Mark Chaiken, right? So if you're wondering, what is Mark doing? What's his outlook for the market? You'll find it right here in this very helpful article. So again, Mark will provide his commentary on each Sunday evening. And on top of this, on a daily basis, right? Again, I told you earlier, Mark has 50 years of experience on Wall Street. Where's the other 30 years? Right with our chief investment strategist, John Schlitz. All right. So the two of them have been partners for decades together, and John will provide you with his technical outlook, his technical insights each morning, right through his Morning Insights article. All right. So a lot of great info, pulling all the information right from Chaiken Analytics and helping you understand where the broader based market is headed, how sectors are shifting, and ultimately some stocks to keep an eye out for. A little bit of a hint, we're going to take a look at a few of Mark's looks in just a few minutes. But all of this is part that adds a value right to your subscription with Chaiken. You know, if you're looking to, again, get a better understanding for how the market is and then know where to position yourself, this is all how we tie it together. And again, it all begins with the broader market and with expert analysis here. So you may notice here with our power gauge ratings for individual stocks, you can see them all listed. You know, we get great value by analyzing the balance of bulls, neutrals, and bears within an industry or within a sector. Well, we're constantly making developments to Chaiken Analytics, and for those of you who are trading ETFs, obviously you can see how you can benefit, which ones are mostly bullish, ones are mostly bearish. Well, at the end of November, we're going to be introducing power gauge ratings for our ETFs. You know, for example, here's the financial sector populating right now. At the end of November, we're going to have a whole separate formula for analyzing ETFs, and they'll be available to you, like I said, within just about a few weeks. So, with that said, now that we have an understanding for where the market is, you know, where are we right now, let's go ahead and take a look at just a couple of technical factors, and then we'll move along. You know, Chaiken money flow. I'm sure many of you have seen this before. You know, Mark made his name back in the 80s when he developed this formula for tracking the behavior of larger institutions. All right, that's the benefit that we get from Chaiken money flow, is that we have a sense for how larger institutions are moving. Now, it's pretty easy to read. Obviously, anytime you see green here, you see accumulation. You see larger institutions are putting money into the market. Obviously, when you're analyzing the S&P 500. Well, when you see it negative, obviously, as you might assume, you're seeing selling off. So this helps complement your analysis for where the market is. Where do we see it right now? Well, take a look at it. It's been slowly accumulating, and now it's at its highest peak since about the month of February. All right. What does that tell you about the market? Well, obviously, we know we're having a significant rally right here. You know, we retested the August lows, and we made the shape of the letter W. You know, why is this relevant? Why am I just making this up? Of course not. When you go to Chaiken Insights in his commentary, all right, Mark's been telling us since the beginning of September that corrections in the market of 11% or greater have ended in the shape of the letter W, right, representing a fear-based sell-off and then an institutional sell-off, which either obviously tests the previous month's low or it exceeds it. Obviously, in this case, we just met it. Take a look back here in the middle of 2011. What did we see? A letter W, right? Again, fear-based sell-off, institutional sell-off. What took place afterward? A bit of a rally, okay? Each of the corrections since that point of 11% or less have ended in the letter V, all right? Remember the whole Ebola panic, right? Fear-based sell-off, Not as significant of a correction of what we saw just a few months ago. All right, so we know what to look for and we know how to time our entries. Take a look down here, our overbought, oversold indication. How valued, how overvalued, how undervalued is a stock, is an ETF, is a sector, right? What did we see taking place back here at the end of September? I'm going to go to September 29th when we retested those August lows. You saw ultimately we're not exceeding the August low and we're in significantly oversold position. What followed? A significant rally. Again, how do you know how to pay attention to these factors? Right here in Market Insights. All right. Such valuable information coming in here, helping you understand where the market is, helping you understand where you should be positioning yourselves. All right. So with that said, obviously right now we see a lot of money going into the market. We see another oversold position here. So plenty of bullish behavior likely to continue through the end of the quarter. All right. Okay. With that said, let's go ahead and start talking about some individual stocks. Okay. Now, obviously, like I mentioned before, we have 5,000 stocks in our program, about 1,000 ETFs. We're going to start with a few in particular. Let me go ahead and start with, I'm going to pull up my own list of stocks right now. Okay. So what we have here, ultimately, I have a few stocks in my program that I've been watching, and I'm going to conveniently leave my buy date right here, September 29th on the chart. And you can see Ingram Micro. Tell me if you've ever heard of Ingram Micro. All right, I hadn't before, but I saw that this was a stock that was mostly bullish for the past 2 months. All right, I'm looking at the history of the power gauge rating. Where is it right now? It's very bullish. Why is that? Remember I mentioned we're tracking 4 main categories: financials, earnings, technicals, and expert opinions. Underneath each, we have the 5 indications that we're following. All right. In total, that gives us 20 categories, and you can see how this is a blend of fundamental and technical analysis. All right. So overall, what do you do if you see earnings being neutral and you have technicals and experts bullish and financials bullish? Let the power gauge rating do the work for you. All right. The power gauge rating analyzes based on our own proprietary averages that we follow and our own proprietary way that we prioritize each of these factors. We give you the output of an overall power gauge rating. All right. So again, you're thinking bullishly, look for the bullish stocks. If you're thinking bearishly, look for the bearish ones. Now remember, notice how we're about 26 minutes into our presentation, right? And we're just now talking about individual stocks to trade. This tells you, the presentation in and of itself is a demonstration that your strategy, the way you look for stocks, is so important. And you can see how easy it is, how easy it's been for us so far to go through these different factors and get a sense for how the market is performing. So again, here's a stock, Ingram Micro, all right, a stock that, again, I hadn't heard of up until a couple of days before I bought it. Why did it come to my attention? It was a stock that was breaking out above its long-term average. It had been bullish for about 2 months, all right. Chaiken money flow, you might be saying, well, hold on, Chaiken money flow wasn't very impressive at this point. Well, you know what we're looking for with ultimately for a stock on the verge of a turnaround? We're looking for improvement, and we saw that back here in July. All right, in much worse position, but greatly improved, and now the stock doing very well. Our overbought, oversold indication. Why did I wait for the 29th? Because it was oversold at this point, and it made a great rally. And now, ultimately, now that we're looking at any stock or ETF other than the SPY, we have a comparison versus the S&P 500, your relative strength indicator. All right. Pretty simple way to read it. Anytime you see yellow or green, it means the stock or the ETF is outperforming the S&P 500. As you might assume, again, orange or red, it is underperforming. So we're typically looking for improvement when you're looking for a stock to enter early on. But as you can see here, Ingram Micro outperforming the market pretty significantly. So when I put all of these factors together, and again, we break this down for you in our Finding Longs and Shorts document, and we're helping you qualify the stocks as well as finding the right time to enter. Now, let's go ahead and take a look at some ways where you can actually find these stocks. I just analyzed a stock for you, but how do you actually find them? Well, take a look at our Chaiken hot lists. This is our opportunity as Chaiken Analytics. This is our opportunity to help bring some trending stocks to your attention. what I want to share with you today primarily, ultimately, we have our lists here for classic bulls, right? So we have here a definition for what a classic bull is, but show me some real-time examples of some classic bulls, please. Well, here's a listing of about a dozen. I want you to focus on a few trends here, right? Stocks above long-term average and consistency with the bullish power gauge rating, all right? This is how you qualify a stock. How do you know that this is a bullish stock that you even want to be trading, right? Well, ultimately, you're looking for these factors, and we're bringing them right to the forefront for you, okay? How about stocks that ultimately on the verge of becoming a classic bull, right? Maybe some of you are taking longer positions. Maybe some of you are looking for a breakout that you can swing trade, right? A bullish turnaround is a great opportunity for this. You can see how stocks are just initially breaking out of the long-term average and are starting to pick up consistency with the power gauge rating being bullish, all right? You can see the improvement with money flow, the improvement in relative strength, and ultimately an oversold position to complement your timing. All right, so all of this is very important for you to utilize. Now, we mentioned earlier, right, that you want to qualify a stock and then you need to find the right point to time it, right? Keep in mind, all right, you can create as many lists as you prefer within Chaiken Analytics. Let me give you some ideas. If all you did as a swing trader, as a short-term trader, was maintain a bullish watch list and a bearish watch list, you're in the money, right? Because again, you're going to find stocks that you want to trade that you can qualify that are significantly bullish, right? But your timing isn't always right. The stock's not always ready to be traded. So what do you do with those stocks that are so strong? We were just looking at AutoNation. Well, when I pull up my bullish watch list, here it is at the top of mine, all right? So you can see here, these are all stocks that I'm watching. Which ones do I start with? Well, here's one with a buy signal, all right? Our oversold buy, telling you that there's a trend right now with the stock being oversold, making a short-term low, but it's bullish. All right, so a great trend appearing here. In total, we have 6 buy and sell signals for you swing traders. Oversold buy, overbought sell, relative strength buy, relative strength sell are great for bringing your attention to a significant trend in a stock. Now, does this mean you want to immediately buy and sell when you see a signal? Of course not. You want to immediately pull up the stock and analyze it further. BMO, it's above its long-term average. It's been bullish for about a month. So you see the consistency here. You see how money flow is at its best point since it was back in April. See relative strength here. Again, it's not positive, but look how significant it has improved. This is a great opportunity for a turnaround. And again, is it oversold? Well, I think the signal is telling you right now is a great opportunity. So this is just one example. How do you become aware of all of those different trends? What about any time another stock has triggered a signal? After all, I mean, you know, I have the convenience, my job revolves around Chaiken Analytics. I spend probably 10 hours a day in Chaiken Analytics. So, you know, I have the convenience of being able to look through all these different trends. Many of you do not, all right? So how do we summarize this information for you? Here's our alerts window, making you aware of any bullish trends, right? Any signals that have recently been triggered over the past 3 days. How about any other trends? Maybe an earnings surprise, a stock crossing above its long-term average, maybe an estimate revision, all right? So these are all bullish trends to make you aware of. How about a bearish trend, right? How about any kind of bearish alerts? This is all available right here for you. So if I wanted to take a look at one of these stocks that triggered a money flow buy signal, here's GM. Okay, I immediately click on the ticker symbol there, brings me right to the stock. So, and then of course, as a summary, let's say for example, you have all of your open positions in your My Stocks list. Well, if you're looking for a quick consolidated look to see how your portfolio is performing, just go ahead and pull up our panel view. You can see the status intraday for how your stocks are performing. All right, so a neat little window there. How about filtering capabilities? Let's go to my bullish watch list. Let me make sure that all of my stocks are experiencing enough volume, right? Maybe I want to make sure a stock is still above that $10 price mark. Well, whatever your preference is for the minimums of price, liquidity, market cap, you can go ahead and modify any of these as you prefer, all right? What if you don't have a preference for price? Well, go ahead and set this at 0. I just want to see a stock that's experiencing enough volume, and also I want to make sure the stock is at least of a market cap of $1 billion or greater. right? You can set all of your preferences here. I'm going to go put mine back to where they were. Actually, I'm going to leave mine at 1,000 here. Hit save, and you can see how stocks will be removed from your list. Now, this weekend, right? If you're an advanced screener, right? If you're someone who really has specific needs for an individual stock, well, here's a little preview of our stock screener. This will be released this weekend. All right. Now I have an offer for you for Chaiken Analytics. I'm going to pull this up in a few minutes, but overall, we do have a very detailed stock screener that will be released Saturday morning. All right. So in addition to that power gauge rating for ETFs, you will also be able to sort based on any of the factors in the power gauge rating, what the overall rating of a stock is, right? How has the stock been performing based on a variety of different months? Obviously, this is just a screenshot. I can't pull up the drop-down menu given that it is a screenshot, but ultimately you'll be able to modify the duration, what its performance has been, all of these other technical factors that you see here, any signals that have been triggered over a given period of time. Again, this whole functionality will be available for you this week. All right. Now, again, this is a sign of our commitment to improving our product. This is already a fantastic tool. Remember that gentleman I told you about back in August. This was way before our stock screener. This was way before one in particular, our options play overlay. Right? Those of you who are trading options, let's say you wanted to maximize your return, right? Let me say if I wanted to compare side by side different strategies, right? This is what we talk about when we talk about maximizing your return, all right? Comparing back and forth, how much risk am I taking with a given strategy? How do I, maybe some of you are just new into options and you're looking for a tool to help you trade. How do I actually process the trade itself? How do I do a call vertical? Well, simply click on modify here and you can pull up your strategy. Let's say you have no interest in buying or selling. Well, pull up a strategy that's a bit more relevant for you. Simply pull up, let's say, for example, we want to do a diagonal, right? Go ahead and click diagonal and you'll see the strategy appearing here. Now you have the ability to compare a diagonal, a straight call, or maybe a vertical. All right, so the program itself will automatically sync based on the stock's rating. If you are looking at a bearish stock, you can see ultimately bearish strategies available to you, as well as income strategies also. All right. Now, again, I mentioned before, as our Director of Client Success, I host and I make available to you a variety of strategies, a variety of group sessions, right, to help you understand the program more. Every Tuesday and Thursday, we do host options-only sessions. All right. These are for all of our users, all of our subscribers. So you'll be able to learn all the ins and outs, all of the details of our options play functionality, and of course how to find the right stock too. I mean, it's so important. It all begins by finding the right stock to be trading. All right, and that's just a bit of a taste for what we cover every Tuesday and Thursday at 11 o'clock Eastern Time. Now, again, I mentioned before time restrictions, right? What if simply enough you're not available in the middle of the day here? What I'm going to do, I'm just going to show you some of the resources available to you, including a user guide, right? Let's say you have questions about individual stocks or ultimately all of the indicators within our charts. Our user guide is great for this. What about different sessions? Well, for those of you when you join Chaiken Analytics, every afternoon, I host an onboard session, right? Giving you a thorough introduction. We're barely scratching the surface today. There's so much information available to you, right? But each afternoon, we cover all of the details. I take your questions. Obviously, we have a smaller group session so I can address everyone's questions. Unfortunately, I don't have that luxury for today. But ultimately, we'll do those every day, those user group sessions, our pre-market session, at 8:30 Eastern Time on Tuesdays and Thursdays. We'll analyze the market before trading opens. And then, like I mentioned, we have our option sessions. Not available to attend, check out our YouTube page for our subscribers, and you can access any one of these recordings. If you were to subscribe as early as today, you'd be able to watch a recording of today's onboard session. So, as well as that option session, I should say. So, okay, so again, these are all benefits that are part of our subscribers, all the experience they get. Let's start talking about a few more individual stocks, all right? A few examples I wanted to pull up that we've seen over time. Here's a great example. I use this pretty frequently here. AIZ. This is a great example for timing, for a swing trade, as well as for a long-term entry point. You might recall AutoNation. It kind of looks pretty similar to AIZ back where it was on May 18th. It was above its long term. It was bullish. You can see money flow was in good shape. Relative strength was greatly improved. But the key here on May 18th is the stock that it's overbought, right? Your discipline here is rather waiting for the right moment. All right, you see this stock again. You've had this in your watch list. You see on June 8th, it's still above its long term. It's still bullish. Money flow is still in great shape. Yeah, it's even a little bit negative here, but take a look at how much it's improved over time. This tells you more about the quality of the stock. And then you see relative strength is slowly becoming positive, and now it's oversold, and you're in a much better position for your 1 to 3 week swing trade. What if you decide to buy the stock itself? Well, you're hanging on in great shape right now. Still above its long term, still bullish, money flow in great shape, relative strength in great shape. When it's time to exit, we're going to train you on how to identify that point. You'd be able to pull up a stock like Southwest Airlines and take a look at where it was back in April. Take a look at Apple back where it was over the summer, particularly the month of July. Right? Those are some great examples for longer-term exits. But for the most part, really, what we want you to focus on is that right time to enter. I mentioned earlier, what if you see a stock that's been trending significantly here, right? It's been doing really, really well. You decide to buy it on May 20th. Again, that's a painful experience, right? That's an experience that makes you think that, the market really is just rigged against me. I'm here to tell you that, you can do better than that. You have the tools and the resources available to you. It's just a matter of how you use it. Let's look at a bearish example. Probably one of the most bearish stocks of the year has been Wynn Resorts, right? So if you're looking for a stock to short, a stock to buy puts on, it's tough to go wrong here, unless you're shorting it on September 30th. I have to admit, I had a new subscriber who called in once and said, hey, look, I don't know about Chaiken Analytics. It's, I'm having trouble with it. And I said, well, tell me some of the stocks that you've traded and tell me why it didn't work out, or tell me which ones that didn't work out for you. And I said, all right. So he tells me Wynn on September 30th. And as soon as he said Wynn, I was like, well, how is it possible to go wrong there? Here it is, and ultimately, unfortunately, entered on September 30th when the stock itself was about as oversold as it gets, right? So the key here that I'm emphasizing isn't to center your strategy entirely around overbought, oversold, rather to follow a disciplined strategy, a set criteria that you can follow. And again, how do we make this available to you? Here's our profile for your classic bear. Again, whether you're in and out of here over the course of a year or the course of just a couple of weeks, you're looking for this setup. All right. So again, we're going to talk about this more in depth. This is some of the most important content to follow. And the key is really once you have a consistent strategy in place, right, you're going to be following this discipline, and you're not going to have success with just 1, 2, or 3 stocks, but rather the overwhelming majority of the stocks that you trade using our program. All right. So all of this available to you, a lot of ultimately resources being cleaned up. Now I have a few stocks to share with you real quick before we go ahead and make my offer. Mark Chaiken provides a stock of the week pick each week. We have a few. If you, let's see, I believe Tesla did report already. That was one of the examples I was going to use. Well, how about tomorrow morning? Well, tomorrow morning we're going to go ahead and we're going to keeping our eye on Cognizant Technology, CTSH, bullish stock of the week, right? Reports before the open tomorrow morning. This is just an example, ultimately, if you want to take a moment and read through here, of some of the analysis that we'll provide to you. All right. Some other ideas for earnings. Obviously, part of our hot list, way more than just featured bulls and bears, we do also have our earnings hot lists. So how do I know what stocks are reporting earnings in a given week? Well, go ahead and pull up this list and try running a portfolio health check report. This gives you a breakdown for all of the stocks. Looks like about 50 of them in our upcoming earnings ideas list. Significant weekly trends that we've seen amongst the stocks, as well as a breakdown for which stocks are reporting earnings on a given date. All right. And then, of course, a very helpful Chaiken Power Grid giving you analysis for the strength of a stock, as well as the industry group it's a part of. So with that said, I'm very excited to invite you guys to join Chaiken Analytics. I do have an offer available for you, and I want to make this available so you guys can see it right now. We'd love to have you join Chaiken Analytics for a full year. And what I'm doing, we typically offer this for $19.50. However, if you subscribe before midnight tonight, I want to give it to you for $300 off. All right. So we're going to come in for $16.50, and once you subscribe, you're immediately going to be available for our onboard session. All right, again, we scratched the surface today. There's so much more information, so much more about our strategy for finding and timing stocks that we need to go into. There's a reason why we have a variety of small group sessions. It's because there's so much content available here. But at the same time, you see how easy it is for to line up a trade. Again, a lot of this is second nature to me. Again, I probably spend 10 hours a day right within Chaiken Analytics, so I know this stuff pretty well. What I want to do is I want to give you that same second nature understanding, all right? Because again, the key is think about your golf swing, all right? Hopefully a lot of you have experienced going from a so-so golf swing to a very good one, a very strong one. Well, that's exactly what I'm going to do, all right? Think of me almost like your golf instructor, where I'm going to help you. Ultimately, anybody can find a stock. Anybody can swing a golf club, but the ones who are good at it are the ones who are following a discipline, a routine. There's a lot of consistency ultimately to it, and you can see ultimately how you get those results back. So keep this in mind. Again, 1650 for the whole year. Quick little summary. Again, options play. Especially if you're new to options. Maybe you're trading options for quite a while now and you're learning more about it, or you're looking for a way to compare side by side. Options plays a great function for you. Market insights, daily morning insights, small group tutorials, open forums every Monday afternoon. Obviously, all of these are recorded if you're not able to attend. So please get in touch with us. Obviously, I'm going to be staying late today, taking a couple of calls. I'll be happy to speak with you guys. Send us an email, give us a phone call, 877-697-6783, or just check us out on ChaikenAnalytics.com. We're happy to give you a tour of the program there as well.